This podcast has been brought to you by Podcast Nation.
Who'd be your hall pass?
Hall pass is so weird because for me, like, do people actually take hall passes seriously? Because I'm saying hall pass, and even if I was given the opportunity, I would say respectfully, I love my husband. Thank you for saying
answer.
that I have the opportunity.
Right answer.
But no, it would be Ryan Reynolds.
Would it?
I love Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, how could you not?
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
You're listening to the Laughing Couple podcast with your hosts, Brittany and Ryan Ostafy. Join them weekly as they discuss topics such as relationships, kids, sex, parenting, all unfiltered and all with a healthy dose of laughter. Please welcome your hosts, Brittany and Ryan Ostafy.
Cooper the other day had a T-shirt and he's like, "Dad, can you cut the strings?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Not the strings, the tag at the back. I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And I was like, 1, 2, 3. Why are there so many for a kid's T-shirt? He can't even read this.
I don't think it's for them to read. They're not like, here, it comes with a quick book.
I was like, what do you need to know about a T-shirt? How to wash it. Everything else is self-explanatory.
This T-shirt comes with a short novel.
How is it made?
Yeah.
And how to wash
it. Yeah.
And you only need to know what's in it because some people have allergies to certain things. But outside of what is actually,
that was a lot.
How does this shirt made and how you wash it or take care of it? What else is there?
You know that podcast.
But that could be on the first tag. Like how many tags you have on that skirt?
You know they have to add those things because there was somebody at one point who did those things, and that's why they have to have those disclaimers.
Every disclaimer was a lawsuit.
Yeah.
People don't have the mental fortitude to say, what's the worst case scenario? Let's write something about that.
I know.
When you see it and you're like, wow, that's a lot. Why do we need that? Because somebody got hurt real bad, Russell.
Never used
Yes.
to say caution hot.
Shot.
Yeah.
Shod.
It was
Shod.
McDonald's that got sued.
Yeah.
It was McDonald's that got sued. You might want to put the headsets on if you want to hear us, or it's too hot.
It's too hot.
It is hot. It's
You
hard
know
on the
that-
ears.
You know that podcast? It's called I've Had It. It's with two women. They're probably in their 40s, late 40s. I've Had It. We actually reached out to them. They were like, no, we don't want to be on your podcast. Anyways, they're blowing up. They have exactly 0 fucks given about what they talk about. And I do commend them for it because they are not politically correct. Like, they will literally just be like, this really fucking bugs me. And they'll say it and they get shredded in the comments. Shredded. And I'm always like, oh man, like they've got to be super strong to just keep going. And like, it has not affected them. But I just watched a clip of them the other day and I was like, oh, and I need to preface this by saying this is not my opinion. It's just a conversation that I had.
Yeah, we give a shit about what people think.
No, it's just like, here's the thing. Like when they said it, what I'm about to tell you, I was like, I can see that. And sometimes I'm like, I don't get it either. And then I went through the comments and I was like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And I was like, okay, it was like a learning opportunity.
The best part about saying something that's thought-provoking is it creates
It wasn't thought-provoking.
And then you get the other perspective and you're like,
It wasn't thought-provoking. It was like, I fucking hate these people.
tell me. I like hearing this.
Their episode was all about how much they fucking hate Disney adults and how weird they think it is for people to be like obsessed as an adult with Disney. And so their perspective was saying like, you know, like, I just don't fucking get it. Like, you're going to a place that is meant for children without children and you're waiting in line and like she's like, I just think it's really fucking weird that like adults go to Disney when it's meant for children. And I was like, okay, like I can kind of see that ish. And then somebody was like, so everybody in the comments are like, well, I got married at Disney. And like, she's like, that's fucking weird. Like, why are you getting married at Disney? And like, you're eating Disney food, whatever. Then the comment section provided a narrative that I was like, that's so true. So some of the people were like, listen, I get what you're saying, but also it's like a nostalgic thing where like, maybe I never got to experience Disney when I was a child because of whatever reason. And so there's like a pain there. And like now that I'm an adult, I get to go and I get to be here and I get to have those memories that I was never given because I was from whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, I could see that. And then somebody else wrote and it made me laugh. She was like, listen, I have no fucking problem with people going to Disney as an adult. I really could give two shits. If this makes you happy, amazing. I will say, this is somebody else saying this. I waited in line for a character meet and greet to go see Goofy. And there were two adults ahead of me crying because I got to meet Goofy, and then took like 20 minutes like taking pictures with Goofy when there's clearly like some sweaty ass teenager in this suit. And they were like, and my child, who was very young at the time, was like bawling and she was like throwing a tantrum. And I'm sitting fucking looking at these two adults taking selfies with a teenager in a Goofy costume. And I'm like, can we move this along? Like, I'm like, okay, I can, like, honestly, if I had a toddler who was freaking out and I had to wait because two adults were like hyperventilating to meet a Disney character, which is actually not a Disney character, but a teenager in a suit, I'd be like, okay, like, let's move it along. I could get that.
I get it. You see, as an adult, I had the privilege last year to take Riley, my nieces and nephews, alongside with my sister and brother-in-law, to WWE. Mm-hmm. And we had great seats. Right as they walk out, all of the wrestlers shook their hands, high-fived them, talked to them. What an incredible experience. But I cannot tell you how many adults were there without kids. In fact, there were more adults there without kids than adults with kids, and certainly more adults than kids.
Okay, but for me, like, wrestling's different because I feel like wrestling is like adult people who are like actors, where it's like Disney princesses and Disney characters are like characters in a cartoon. Like, you know what I mean?
No,
like,
I get
that
it.
Doesn't really make sense to me.
I totally get it.
I never considered the narrative of it being like a childhood fulfillment.
Well, this is what I was going to get to.
Which I was
because
like,
I think
I
this is a really
understand that.
good transition. Jake and I were talking about this earlier, and you and I had talked about this yesterday. So Cooper has just turned 6. He just turned 6. And on the weekend, we had my family over, and Uncle Pete was talking to Coop, and Coop said to Uncle Pete, hey, Uncle Pete, you know, Riley's in double digits now. And Pete's like, yeah. And he's like, I'm really nervous about being 6. And Pete's like, well, what are you nervous about? He's like, I don't know. It's just a lot of pressure. Like, so sad. And so we were kind of joking around about it, laughing, because like, what does a kid know? What does a kid at 6 know about pressure, right? And then I thought about that. Well, there's some kids that know a lot about it, but what do our kids know about pressure, right? And then I thought, because I was talking to my mom about it last night, because Cooper has really been like struggling now that he is 6. He was really struggling, and I found out that my nephew Carter was really struggling with 7. In fact, the first week of him being 7, he refused to acknowledge that he was 7, and then one day woke up and recognized, oh, being 7 is no different than being 6, and then went on to be 7. But Jake and I were talking about this, and it's like, if your kid doesn't want to grow up, you can look at that and say you're doing a wonderful job. Mm-hmm. Because I feel like our generation constantly wanted to be older.
Yeah.
I always wanted to
true.
be old enough to do this or old enough to do that, or, you know, next year you're going to be able to do this. And we talked about this on the podcast years ago, of always looking into the future and never being present.
Right.
So the idea that we have a child who does not want to be 6 tells me that he loved being 5.
He was like, 5 was so fun. Like, I don't want to leave 5. Like, 5 was such a fun time for me.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but when you were 4, you were maybe a little bit nervous to be 5. And he's like, was I? And I was like, 100%. You were like, I don't know. I know I did. Like,
but this is what Jake and I were talking about, which is brilliant. If you think about it, your kids don't remember their first 2 years of life. They just don't. Right. It's really, really difficult for them. They might remember the first 2 years when they're 3, but by the time they're 5, they don't. Like, all of their memories are from a phone showing them that they did those. I remember doing that. No, you remember looking at the video of you doing that. And so if you look at Cooper at 6 and you subtract the first 2 years of his life, he only remembers 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And
like,
so
and
1
2 of
year
those were COVID.
So 1 year in the 3 years he remembers is 33% of his entire life. It is huge. And to a kid who doesn't recognize that 6 is just the next day, he looks at it as 6 is another year.
Right.
And another year for him now is a quarter of his life, which is everything.
It really is.
So you think about like what's changed in the last 3 years, what kind of change is going to come in the next year. But for a kid who doesn't process years as in the next day, he looks at it as like, now I'm 6, life is already immediately different. I'm really proud and happy to have heard him want to be 5 and stay 5. And then it goes back to this Disney thing that you're talking about and said, maybe not everyone's lives look like Cooper's at 5.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like there's so much more behind the reason of why people go to Disney as an adult, like so many reasons. And I think that the podcast that was talking about it was narrow-minded in that sense, where they were like, they didn't even consider this. They were just like, that's fucking weird. But like, it might be weird for you because you maybe had an upbringing that like you got to go and experience these things. Maybe you didn't have trauma. Maybe these people had trauma. Maybe they went to Disney but were in a really uncomfortable spot in their life as a child. And like, do you know what I mean? They want to take back that power, whatever it is. It was just a very interesting perspective. And that's why I love the comment section.
And you know, for me, the comment section is everything. And for me, I look at it, I've got a mother who in a perfect world would be Tinkerbell. She believes herself to be Tinkerbell to a certain degree. My mom still sees the magic of being a child. Christmas, really Christmas to her, Easter to her, Thanksgiving to her. That's why if you go to my mom's house,
I would say that's both of our moms.
Both of our moms, for sure.
So magical in that way.
But if you go to any of their houses at any time of the year, their decor matches what is happening in the year. If it's Easter, you've got bunnies. If it's Christmas, you've got Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus and toys and
they don't have
candy.
Like they do it for the grandkids.
Yes, but they do it for themselves.
Yeah.
Like my mom's got plates for every single, not season, every event. Holiday. My mom's got a plate for it because to my mom, it's like magic. And so if my mom goes to Disney with my dad, now my mom has never gone to Disney with just my dad, but if my mom were to go to Disney with my dad, would she buy the Disney ears? Probably not. Would she wear the Mickey shirt or the Minnie shirt? Probably not. But would she see the magic of what Disney is? Absolutely, she would.
No,
and I don't think you should take that away from anybody.
She would 100% buy the ears.
My mom?
She would have bedazzled Mickey ears.
My mom, if the grandkids were there, she'd buy them bedazzled Christmas ears.
She would also be wearing bedazzled ears.
Absolutely. I don't.
She would look so cute. Are you kidding?
Yeah, maybe.
She would be wearing...
I don't think so.
She'd wear a white dress. Your mom's like Ostafy white. She loves white. And she would have some sort of pink. And then she would... You want to talk about the Ostafy?
Yeah, Ostafy.
And we have a lot of questions.
We got a lot of questions. We're going to get to those because we got a lot of time.
Okay.
Ostafy. So Brittany and I were having a conversation the other day, and I said to her, I just realized that my mom is Diane Ostafy. I didn't just realize that. I always known that.
No shit.
But my mom was not always Diane Ostafy. My mom was Diane Howes. And then my mom married my father and became Diane Ostafy. But my mom identifies herself as Diane Ostafy because she has 3 children that are Ostafy. She created the Ostafy household inside her world. But my sister, Laura, not an Ostafy anymore. My sister Michelle, not an Ostafy anymore. But my mom's still an Ostafy. And so I had asked you, when did you feel like an Ostafy versus a Langver? And that's not to take away from being a Langver because you were born into the Langver family. That was the house you grew up in. That's the last name you knew yourself to be. But you are Brittany Ostafy. If someone asks you what your name is, you don't stumble and say Brittany Langver. I mean Ostafy. You're Brittany Ostafy.
Yeah, like I would definitely say there was twofold. Like after we got married and I like took your last name officially, I would say like, okay, I'm an Ostafy now. And like I had an email, like I changed it to Brittany Ostafy because I didn't do that before we got married. And then I would say having the kids and giving them the last name as Ostafy, like solidified me as an Ostafy. But you asked me like, do I feel like an Ostafy? Yes, but like I also feel like part of me will always be a Langver. Like always, because that's how I grew up. That was a huge part of my life. But the kids definitely, because we share the last name Ostafy now, is like a for sure thing.
And we talk about like, so my family, I grew up, my mom, my dad, my 2 sisters. You grew up, your mom, your dad, your brother. That was your family. You had cousins, aunts, uncles, extended family, but your family at its core lived inside the house that you guys occupied. That was your family. And my family was always my family. Laura, Michelle, my mom, my dad. That was the Ostafis as far as I was concerned. Yes, we had family members that shared the same DNA as us, DNA, but they were not the Ostafis. And so my mom had family members that were Howes. She had her brother that was still a Daryl Howes, and a niece that was a Howes, Shannon Howes. But my mom was an Ostafi. And it was like our Ostafi household and their Howes household. But my mom was always a Howes / Ostafi. And so what it gets to and what we were talking about was the family you build is your family. Yes, my mom and my dad are still my mom and my dad. My sister Laura and my sister Michelle are still my sisters. But my family at its core lives in this house. It's Cooper, it's Riley, it's you. We are the Ostafis and Jake. We are the Ostafis. Yes, there are other Ostafis. Yes, there are other conversations going on with family members that are mine. Just like Laura is the Grimwoods and Michelle is the Ballins. We are brothers and sisters, but the Ostafis live in this
I wonder
household.
how it would be if you had a brother, because then his family would be the Ostafis if she took his last name and the kids took the
But
last
to
name.
me, the Ostafis would still live in this house.
No, I know, but
That
like I
would be
wonder
their
if it would be
cousins.
like a little bit like extended, like it would be a little bit more like and they're also the Ostafis.
Oh, Doyle rules
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that because I don't have a brother, and therefore I don't have anyone that shares my last name
Yeah.
anymore. But my mom is still an Ostafi,
Yeah.
right? And my mom will always be an Ostafi, and my mom will always identify as an Ostafi. And on her tombstone, we'll say Ostafi because she's become an Ostafi. She created the Ostafi
wild.
family.
Yeah. It's
Just
weird.
like you've now created the Ostafi family when you were not born into the Ostafi family.
You're not blood.
You're not blood, damn it. Anyways, it's a
Okay.
cool conversation. It's
It
a
is
cool
cool.
thought. It's like the family you create is the family that you have,
Regardless of the name.
regardless. Like your name, you went from a Langver to an Ostafi, and now you're the Ostafis.
Okay, so we had wrote in on our socials Q&A, like ask us some questions and we can answer some of them. A lot of them we have answered before, so we could maybe just do a run through of some of them.
Okay. I've not heard these questions.
No, so I mean, one of them was like, you got so sweet. You guys are hilarious. Thank you. Who's funnier? They said, I want the story of how you both met. We've talked about this so
Did
many
someone
times.
really ask who's funnier?
No, I just threw that in.
Oh,
No, they already know. So I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Somebody wanted to know how we met. I would suggest going and listening to The Origin.
the origin story.
The Origin. Yeah, it's one of our first episodes because it's just a long story.
But Cole's notes.
Cole's notes.
We lived across the street from each other.
Yeah, we grew up across the street from one another. Our parents knew each other. Ryan was older than me. We didn't actually get together till
You grew boobies.
I grew boobs.
That's
and
not
then
true.
we kind of dated on and off in between when we were dating other people, and we would break up. We'd always kind of like go back to the each other. So anyways,
Back to what felt comfortable.
yeah.
Your
that's-
vagina.
Yeah. We settled. We were just like, we can't do any better than this. Somebody asked, what was your biggest parenting fail from the past that you can laugh about now? Do you have one?
The biggest parenting fail that
You can laugh about now.
Oh, I don't know if I laugh about it. It's still not good.
Oh, really? This is supposed to be funny.
No, well, I can think of that while you tell
Okay,
your story.
I don't have one yet, so think of your
Oh,
one. That's
I
a
don't know
little bit
these
more.
questions, so I'm not prepared for them.
Me
so,
neither. I'm reading them for the first time.
Oh, okay. Biggest fail that I had was I told Riley.
Just as recently.
No.
Oh,
What did I tell Riley recently?
nothing.
I told Riley. I
It's
told
fine.
Riley that I was going to pretend she didn't exist. Yeah.
What do you mean? When did this happen?
This is when we first moved into this house, so she would have been 4. She was giving me
I need
attitude.
so much content.
She was giving me attitude. I was giving it back to her, and
I know you're not exhausted.
and she's like, "What about if I did this? And what about if I did this? And what about if I did this?" And then eventually she said something, and I said, "Well, then I would just pretend you don't exist, right?" And I looked at her face, and she says, "I don't exist," and I thought, "Oh my God!" Like you say that to somebody who's an adult, and they take that context as like, "Okay, I'm eventually just going to ignore you," right? But you say that to a kid, and it was like I could just see her whole world changed the minute that came out of my mouth. and I've never forgot it because I don't know if she's ever forgot it, but I know that it changed her. It changed her programming. I could literally see her programming change the minute I said that. That was the worst thing I think I've ever done. I know it wasn't funny.
Yeah,
though.
I don't have like.
I don't laugh at it now. I still.
I thought you were gonna say like when you were spinning Cooper on the thing and he went fucking flying.
Oh,
like,
my
that's
God.
a funny one. That's a
My
funny
God,
one.
yeah, that was a big fail. You think centrifugal force works the way that it works, but if the centrifugal forces, if the centrifugal force is open on the outside, it doesn't actually work that way. It sends them fucking flying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a couple of things that have hurt our children. Just
I'll
because
have to think on that. I don't think I
because I
have
go
like a
low.
parenting fail. I'm sure there are things that I've said that I'm like, God, I wish I didn't say that.
You said it.
I said it yesterday, but that's not like a huge one. Like what I was thinking, because Riley was in her own fields. It was Cooper's birthday. She was making him a card. I came downstairs. I gave Cooper his love when he woke up. When I came over to Riley, I said, "Hi, baby girl. Like, I love you. Can I have a hug?" And she was like, "No." She's like, "Go hug Cooper." And I'm like, I don't have time for this shit. I was like, I already did, sweetheart. And I can also hug you. Like, you're my daughter. And I want to give you a hug. She was like, I don't need it. She just gets in these moods where she's like, plays the victim because
I'm not worthy of your hug. It's not my birthday.
it just pissed me off. And I was like, sweetheart, I don't want to play this game. She's like, well, you don't even want to hug me. And what I wanted to say was, don't be silly. Of course I do. What came out was, don't be dumb.
You dumb bitch.
She literally was like, I'm not dumb. And I was like, oh my God, no, you're not dumb. That's not why I said, I meant to say silly. I don't know why it came out as dumb. I just was very frustrated because I didn't want you thinking that way. Anyways, I felt so bad. And it was like clearly visible on her face. And I was like, God damn it. Anyways, don't be dumb.
Being dumb and being stupid and being told that you're dumb and stupid by your parents
It's
is
not great.
So defeating.
Okay, someone said,
I know from experience.
does the comment section ever make you feel like, fuck this, I'm done? Because people can be assholes. Yes. Why?
Makes Jake feel that way. Makes Jake feel that way. Well, I can't answer this question because I don't get what you get. This is more for you, but I can tell you as a innocent bystander of some of the things that happen for you.
Well, I wouldn't say that
true.
because
I'll
you
come
get
back. Yeah, I'll
you get
come
comments
back.
on our ratings.
I just realized I'm not coming. Yep.
You get comments on our ratings and you spiral with those. So I would say you can continue on that thought process.
For me, the thing that infuriates me more than anything else is the mansplaining and the gaslighting.
Yeah.
When someone says, "Oh my God, this guy's a narcissist," he doesn't even recognize that he's a narcissist. The amount of gaslighting has got me triggered. I think to myself, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, first of all, you do not know me. Mm-hmm. You do not know my relationship. And the one thing I will say about this podcast that I love about our podcast and hate about our podcast is it's not curated. Mm-hmm. We have open conversations that actively flow, and you get to listen to how we respond to each other and how we work it out. And sometimes, not always, is our communication super effective. And because it's not super effective and you're only hearing 30 minutes of it, there's a perspective that you may have that is seeing you as a gaslighter. Because we ended up getting a comment that was like, oh my God, Brittany's the biggest gaslighter. I can't listen to her. And then 2 weeks later, literally the exact same comment about me. I'm like, are we both just gaslighters? Are we both narcissists? Are we both just ineffective communicators? And I'm like, no, we're a married couple.
Yeah.
And we have normal conversations on this podcast.
Brave enough to do it like live. Like, again, like you said, this isn't curated. So we're obviously going to get some feedback from it, and we don't get it right every time. So it's just something we got to take. But I would say I used to get really bummed out about things. And the only time now that I get it hurts my feelings, and it's like visibly, like even on you, is when it's somebody who comments something like who isn't a troll that's just going for the response. Like you can always tell that there's like somebody who literally just wants to troll for the sake of trolling. Like their account, 0 followers, 0 posts, like their fucking username is that whatever user blah 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 blah, and then they have a picture of an alien. That's a classic trolling account because it's one of the avatars on TikTok. Those don't bother me because I know that they just want to say shit to get under my skin. Like that doesn't even affect me. What bothers me is when it's like somebody who is a mom usually a mom, because I'm like, why didn't you have the same respect? Like, it's weird to me. Who is like a real person who is just saying something so cruel for what? Like, I'm like, are people this mean? Like, you're a real person. You're not just trolling.
They're not this mean. They're that angry.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I'm like, you're a real person.
They're
you're
that sad.
angry.
They're that angry. They're going through some real serious shit.
But then they
just
project
need to take it on someone else.
On a complete stranger. That sometimes really bothers me when it's like so intentionally mean. Like, the intent isn't to have a disagreement. Like, I can disagree with people all the time in the comment section, and you can, and that's fine. I can absolutely disagree with somebody. It's how you disagree with me. Like, if you can be respectfully disagreeable, let's have a conversation. Let's debate about it. Because, like, we don't always have to agree on everything. It's when somebody is so disrespectful, or when that fucking person wrote me, who lives in Cambridge. That girl, remember I told you Annie was like, I went to high school with that girl. Mm-hmm. And she was like, she's a real person who literally lives in the next city. I know her. I'm like, that's fucking gross. That pissed me off so much, because she wrote me and said something like, nobody cares about your drama with your daughter when Riley was being bullied at Sephora. Like, this is so boring. I want to watch something else. I'm like, this isn't choose your own adventure. This is my fucking life. Yeah. And like, this person, I had posted her response, and I was very respectful in my response to her. I was like, it seems like you're very unhappy. Like, it's kind of gross that you're talking to me like this as another mother, and like, this is a daughter. I'm standing up for bullying, blah, blah, blah. Posted this image on my stories. The bottom part of her name, you could see it if you knew the name. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was unintentional. I usually don't show the name at all. Sometimes I will, though. Like, sometimes I'll be like, you fucking made your bed. Here you go. Honestly. And so that's why Annie was like, I know that girl. And I'm like, that hurt me, because I'm like, this is a real person who lives in a town that I am also living in. And you think that that's okay to message somebody that? It's sickening.
You know what makes me sad the most about the platform, the Instagram, the TikTok, the social media platform? Every content creator wants viral content. They want their content to go big. Multi-millions of people listening to it, following it, seeing it. A viral video that hits over 1 million plus. That's what everyone wants. Mm-hmm. And what makes me sad is anytime you have a viral video, you stop talking for like a day. You just become a shell of yourself for a day. And I'm like, what's going on? And you're like, oh, I had a video go viral. And I'm like, is that not a good thing? And you're like, yeah, but when it goes viral, the amount of comments that are so rude, so disrespectful, so mean and angry, I got to shut it off. I got to turn it off. I'm like, so we are creating content with the intention of it going viral. And when it goes viral, you become a shell of a human because you've got to hide from all of the negative comments. Why is it we're trying to create viral content?
I know. It's
a double-edged sword. It's like, it's such a beautiful place for community and such a toxic place for people who are living toxic lives to shell that toxicity on other people. So are we annoyed by it? Yes. Does it ever tell us to stop? No, because the community that we've built has been so magical for us. And I love this platform for us.
Yeah.
And it sucks
and
to
some
get
days
shit.
are harder than others, for sure. Some days I'm just like, I'm not into this
but
right
listen,
now.
at the same token, I don't need to post content and have 1 million people say how great it is. I do like a little bit of back and forth, especially when we create content that's designed to spark a conversation. It should spark a conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so this is kind of back to another episode. You can listen to the origin one, but it did say, I remember you mentioning you guys were once in a dark place. How did you make it through? That was when like we were about to break up and then we got pregnant. What we will not suggest is say a baby will save your marriage, because that's not what we recommend. Yeah. But definitely go listen to that origin story, because it's not something that we can explain in a couple minutes.
We were in a dark place, and how you get out of a dark place is really, really simple.
It's communication.
It's communication. And I know it's not communication. It's effective communication.
Yeah.
It's communication that's intentional.
And it didn't happen like this.
And has a shared outcome. And so we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. When you find yourself in an argument, in a disagreement, the reason you're arguing is because you have a perspective and they have a perspective, and both of those perspectives are true to the person who has that perspective. And you get so caught up in making sure that your perspective is heard and felt and validated that when the other person doesn't validate it, it's like it's an attack on you and on your perspective. And so when you find yourself in this situation and you're going back and forth, it's really difficult to communicate with someone who has an entirely different perspective on the world than you do.
Yeah.
But when you're so far away that all you're doing is going around in this circle, that's when it gets really dark. That's when it gets really toxic. That's when it gets really ineffective. The best way to do it is to stop, take a step back, and say, in a perfect world,
Right.
what would this look like as an outcome for you? When that person says, it would look like us sitting down, hugging on the couch and having a good time. And you say, you know what? I would really like to sit down, hug on the couch and have a good time. How we're talking right now doesn't lead to that outcome.
Right.
So let's change how we're talking. And that's essentially what happened. When it came down to it, we looked at it and we said, is Riley going to be living in one house or two houses? Either way, she's going to live in a house that she's loved. We agreed to that, but we did not agree as to whether or not it was going to be one house or two houses. And I said, what would you rather? And you said one. And I said, I'd rather one too.
And then we made a commitment to like communicating transparently and having the same outcome, like you said. And like, let's be very clear. It took a while. Like it took a year. It literally took so long, even further than that. It's not like, okay, we're really good now. Like we're still working
still happening.
on it.
It happens
like,
on this
100%. And this platform honestly like holds us accountable because we have to be intentional with what we speak. We're not just going to be like,
and we have to, we have to
mush.
watch what we say on this. And so when you have to watch what you say on this to your partner, you have a different way of communicating. And I would encourage you, pick up a microphone and record your conversations. You will not be impressed with what you say and how you say it.
Right.
And you'll change really quickly
100%.
how you talk.
This is in relation to that question, but somebody said, in your current stage, what is the hardest thing / topic to communicate about?
Sex.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Sex.
You sent me something yesterday that was like, women would say once or twice to never when somebody asks them, how often do you think about sex, without being, what was the word they used? Triggered or responsive or whatever. Like, it's not a responsive thing. Like if we're together and you like touch me in a way, or it's like a suggestion that we're going to have sex. Yeah. Obviously I could be put in that mood. It's responsive mood or something. But the question was like, out of the blue, if you're doing nothing, how often do women think about sex? And it was literally never to once or twice a month. And I was like, interesting. I would say it's a bit more for me, but this is this is in comparative to men. And this is obviously a generalized statement.
This is a research study.
Yes. But like in comparison to men, it was, unless there is a trigger or a responsive act, as in like there is a suggestion to be intimate, it's not like, we're not just like, I could have sex right. You know what I mean? So it was very interesting in comparison to men, which was like much, much higher.
Every time I look at you.
Yeah.
It's
Literally every time you leave the house with the kids and there's nobody in here, I think, where's the lube?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, there's my time to jerk her.
Yeah, because you're right. Every time like I'm like, I gotta go shower, you're like, do you want to have one of those showers? I'm like, no.
Naked.
I'm literally like,
if
no.
you are a woman and you are talking to a man that's not your husband and you're talking on text or you're talking on the phone or whatever, and you say, I got to jump in the shower. Never say, I got to go and I got to jump into a shower to a man unless you want them to think about you having
Really?
sex. 100%.
I think that's presumptuous.
It is not
Seriously?
presumptuous.
Are you serious? If you're talking to someone like, all right, I gotta go have a shower, you'll be like, you'll picture that person naked?
Red car.
You think of a red car.
No.
You didn't picture a red car? Yes, you did. You pictured a little beetle.
But that's
I could
different.
see it. I could see it in your head.
If someone's like, I gotta go have a quick shower, I would never be like,
Really quickly, my brain goes, "What's a shower?" And then I see you.
Naked. 100%.
that's so bizarre.
Here's why sex is such a difficult thing. Here's why sex is such a difficult thing. I heard something the other day that says we only desire the things that we don't have access to, right? So in the early stages of a relationship, desire is such a huge component of our relationship, right? And with us, desire was everything. Desire led to what felt like passion and sex and all of those things. And then when all of a sudden you have that person in your life all the time, that desire goes away. And so for me, it never went away. For me, I always desire what we had and what we have, where you love what we have and don't necessarily think about what we had. I see it as a gap, and I see it as we used to do this, and you don't think of it that way. And that's okay.
We're just different people. We had different responsibilities.
Absolutely. But the reason that sex is the hardest thing for us to talk about is because the gap between my wants, needs, and desires and your wants, needs, and desires is large. And it's very difficult when you have such a large gap to not create morality inside that. What's wrong? What did I do wrong? What's wrong with our marriage? What's wrong with our relationship? Why aren't we this way? What am I doing wrong? What are you doing wrong? It's always about, there's this negative energy around it. And I think it recently, and maybe because of the fact that we're talking about sex more frequently with Tem, we've had some wonderful conversations that are about connection rather than sex.
Yeah.
And so intimacy, connection rather than sex, and obviously sex as well. But since we've had that conversation, I would say we've had a bit of a breakthrough on the subject matter.
I agree. Within that question, there's a lot of people asking like how do you keep the romance alive? How on earth do you find bedroom time with kids who forget to go to sleep? We don't. We are struggling with that.
It's an ongoing thing for us.
Yeah.
It's something that we're working on. Being in a relationship is always about working on that relationship and in that relationship, because who you were and who you are and who you want to be is never the same person. And so as long as you're moving the needle in this direction, you can't be, we talked about this on the last podcast, be it, do it, have it. You can't become something or have something that you don't currently have without shifting who you are as a person.
Yeah.
Well, every time you shift who you are as a person, you're either shifting it with your partner or you're leaving your partner behind. And that gap gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
I like the idea of you saying it's we're in a constant state of progress. Like it's like we're never not working on it. And that looks like different stages of life. You know, if you've got really young kids, you almost have to be just fucking hold out a little bit. It's not always going to be that insane when they're not sleeping and you're exhausted. It's not always going to be like that. So you kind of just have to have faith in each other, and have open communication about it. Because if you don't talk about it, that's where those questions come into play of am I not good enough? What's going on here? But there's always going to be stuff going on in your life. Literally always. Everyone's so busy all the fucking time.
Yep. I saw one comment on there. I did actually see a question. The girl, the one lady had asked, have we ever found ourselves, or do we find ourselves in with the roommate syndrome?
Yeah. 100%.
And the answer is 100% we do.
100%.
Not only roommate.
To the 10th degree,
right.
Because we fucking work together in every sense of the word. We are literally always together.
Yeah.
So it's really hard.
We wear mom and dad hat together. We wear business hat together. We wear husband and wife hats together.
Always.
We have mortgage hats together. We have bills hats together. We have all of these things together
and now that our kids are doing external sports, sorry, that's not the right word. Extracurricular and competitive sports, it's even worse because you're literally passing the baton. Yeah. And you're I'll take this, you take this, you divide and conquer. And it's absolutely a thing.
And it's crazy because the more efficient you become as partners, the more disconnected you become as partners, because you're now in a system that operates. And when you're in a system that operates, you're just a clog in the wheel.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to be we are really good at all of this. Roommate, right? And that's what it becomes. It becomes this is part of our job.
Mechanical.
And it's very mechanical. And so the answer to your question is, do we ever find ourselves in roommate syndrome? Absolutely. Have we recently had a conversation of, are we husband and wife, or are we just really good at being mom and dad and being really good at business together? Where are we? And we've had this as recently as a month ago.
Yeah.
And every time we start to feel that we are becoming more and more roommates, we do our check-ins. Yeah. And that quarterly check-in is so important. And I would say that if the quarter doesn't work for you, do a monthly check-in.
Yeah. And also because it's a big commitment to do the quarterly check-in, because they take forever to do if you're doing them effectively, and it's going to take a while for you to get in the process. Sometimes the check-ins will come in a time where you're not really prepared for them, and that can get messy, but it's also necessary. Like we had one, like 2 months ago when we had that really good talk on the couch, which was kind of like a check-in specifically
month and a half ago.
Yeah. Like specifically about that. And like, we just allowed it to be what it was.
But always reset. Every time it got spicy, 100%. We reset the intention and outcomes that we were looking for. What's the intention of this conversation, and what's the desired outcome of this conversation? And are we talking in a way that will lead us to that outcome? If the answer is no, take a step back. There's no morality here. We're just trying to find a way to make it work more efficiently.
You know what, too? Like, I think about, we have I don't even know if I've ever shared this with you. So I am somebody who really values my girlfriends. Like, I have a lot of different friends and
didn't know that about you.
Different friends group. No, hold on.
Yeah.
Different friend groups. I make the time to see them. I'll do like my girl nights dates. I'll do the weekends. You do not do that.
Right. We talked about this.
Yeah. You have some close friends. Now, this is kind of out of your control, but they live farther than we'd like. Yeah. So you don't have the opportunity to do that. Now, I'll say like... I don't make
the time to do that.
Correct. So for me, when I go out and I have like a weekend away with my girlfriends, it's so rejuvenating. It's like a reset for me too. And then I come back and I'm like, not that absence makes the heart grow fonder, because it's not like I'm absent from you, but like when I come back, I'm just like, I'm so happy to be home. I just value you so much. Like coming back and being like, man, like I missed you. I miss my kids. Like really, really love it. Whereas like, I feel like sometimes I feel guilty about going and doing these things because you don't make the time to do that. And like, cause literally, because you're like, about? Not this, like, I just feel like it's hard for me sometimes to justify me going out and having a like girlfriend time because you don't do that. You don't make the time for that. Cause you say to me, I'd rather just stay in with you. And I'm like, I obviously love you and I love staying in with you.
But I don't want to do that.
No, but but my girlfriends and my relationships are very important to me. So I feel like, cause I say this to you all the time, and they
fill your cup. My cup's full.
No, your cup is overfloweth with stress.
Yeah.
You need different outlets. And we've talked about this before too. Like, you know, you're just so freaking burnt out by the end of the day, and we are in the thick of it in the last few years with business. And maybe that looks like also expanding your friendships in different avenues because there aren't, like, you don't have access to some of your friends.
Here's what I will say about what you're saying, because I do feel it as well. When I come home from a work trip and I recognize that when I open the door and the kids are laughing or the kids are playing, I realize that I left the most important thing in my world in the hands of another human being, and I came back and they were safe.
Yeah.
I came back and they were happy. I came back and although they missed me, you filled that space that I wasn't there with your presence. And the idea of that is like, you gifted me the opportunity to leave, and the thing that matters the most to me in the world was taken care of and protected. And so I always come back feeling like I have a real partner here, someone that can make my world still work without me there. It's like, that is it's the best thing that anyone could ever give me is to say, you can go and I've got this.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you go away and you come back, sometimes the house isn't as clean as you'd like it to be, but it's been lived in. And it's been lived in with kids.
Actually, when I got back this time, it was lovely.
Thank you.
I literally came back and was like, I like this a lot, because that is a trigger for me. Like when you leave somewhere, I always try to make it a point to, when you come home, it's not chaos.
Can I just tell you this?
Sure.
I love that about you.
And you don't care.
I don't give a fuck.
I know.
If that come back and the house is messy.
Okay.
I do. When I come home.
Because I have to clean
When I come home and the house is messy, I know that you guys did shit.
Okay. Well, we did do shit, and I know that you did shit because I see the evidence of it. But that is a trigger for me, and I just wanted to commend you because I did appreciate it being how I left it. Like, obviously, if there's like clutter or toys, like I get it. It's not like it needs to be sparkling. I just don't like coming home to a fucking chaotic mess, because I'm like, this is not how I left it for you.
I know, but you left and it became chaos when you left. I'm not as good at keeping the chaos contained. You leave, and my whole world changes and I've got to modify quickly.
That's fine.
And I'll tell you firsthand as a dad, without you, as me, my version of dad, without you, what I want more than anything is for the kids to not recognize that you're not home. And all I can do is give as much energy to them and say yes to as many things as possible, that cleaning the house becomes a back burner for me. It becomes less important for me. What is my priority when you're not here is to make sure that they're fed and happy.
And I get that. And those are also my priorities. We just function differently. Like at the end of the night.
Because that's part of your system.
Yeah, it
You've
is.
got a
You're
system.
right. You're right. But I'm trying to give you a fucking compliment.
Thank you that I did it proper the last time.
No, that it meant something to me because you know that stresses me out. And I really appreciated that it wasn't
I sent
a
the
disaster.
kids to the park and I cleaned the house.
Yeah, I really appreciated that it was tidied up and I wasn't coming home.
But I
to a
will be
mess.
honest. I cleaned the house because I knew you were coming home and didn't want to see it messy.
But literally, like, thank
Not
you.
because I wanted to do that.
I don't care if you wanted to do it. I appreciate it because you knew that I would come home and be like, this is annoying.
Yeah, and it was nice.
I really,
And I was like, I'll tell you something. When I left this house and you came home, because I was gone when you came home, I thought, if she talks about how messy this house is at any point in time when I get home, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Is there any other questions before we wrap this up?
Oh my God.
I was so happy that you didn't.
Yeah, it was
Because
great.
I will be honest, Brittany, sometimes you find things to be upset about when you come home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
like, why are you
no.
going this
We
way?
all do it.
Jesus
We all
Christ,
do
like
it.
self-sabotage.
So I was like, please just
one quick
don't
last
recognize
note.
don't
Yeah,
recognize
yeah.
that there's a stain on the table.
Okay, this is a funny one. If you could have one A-list celebrity on the podcast, who would you choose and why? That's not what I thought I was going to say. I thought I was going to say your hall pass, and then I just read it.
Great question. Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively.
I agree. From the beginning, that's who we said that I would absolutely love to have on the podcast.
Because they are
I feel like if we were famous, we would be very similar
they've
to them.
presented themselves in such a way that they are human beings
Yes.
and
and
celebrities.
Are famous. Yeah, I agree.
and that may be an act. Maybe they're really good
Falling
at it.
for it.
But I'm all in. I've
Yeah.
bought in on Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively's relationship.
Yeah.
If I ever find out that they got a divorce, I'll be devastated.
Devastated.
They may be the only couple in the world that I'm like, really?
I know.
Shit.
I know. Them.
Yeah.
Them. Really. If they can't do it, no one can.
Except for us.
Except for us.
And all the people that listen to this podcast because we're not celebrities.
Yes, I agree. Okay.
What about alive or dead? If you could do the same question, but alive or dead.
Oh, we've had this.
Who would I hang out with?
yeah.
I'd hang out.
But hold on, celebrity-wise.
I
I know you're going to say your grandfather, but
no, like well-known people.
well-known people.
John F. Kennedy.
I knew you were
I'd
gonna
love
say
to meet
that.
I'd love to sit down with Kennedy.
Hey,
I got a lot of questions.
real
Who shot
quick.
you in the head? Did it come from the
Real
front, from the
quick.
back, and did it come from the grassy knoll?
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I would know who I would have who's passed.
Yeah, that would be mine, John F. Kennedy.
I don't know if I have one that I'm like I really would want to know.
Wait.
She'd be jokes. She'd actually be so fun to talk to. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe Betty White.
Who'd be
'cause I
your
think
hall
she'd be really
pass?
fun.
Betty White.
That's good. Yeah. Who'd be your hall pass?
Hall pass is so weird because for me, like, do people actually take hall passes seriously? Because I'm saying hall pass, and even if I was given the opportunity, I would say respectfully, I love my husband. Thank you for
Right
saying that
answer.
I have the opportunity.
Right answer.
But no, it would be Ryan Reynolds.
Would it?
I love Ryan Reynolds.
yeah, how could you not?
I love his personality. I think he's
lean,
super good looking.
He's in good shape. He's
Yes.
very good looking. He's super witty.
Yeah, I really.
My hall pass
I
might be
also-
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really, really like Ryan Reynolds.
If you gave me a hall pass to hang out with a celebrity for the day, it'd be Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
Wherever that goes.
Yeah. Who knows? Who knows?
I agree.
Who knows?
Yeah.
I know where it probably won't go, but like, who knows? Yeah.
Or probably, I also really like Chris Hemsworth. I think he can be really funny. My only thing about Chris Hemsworth is I don't know if he'd be just I don't know. Like, I
Too
think
much of a bro?
Yeah. Like maybe too bro-ish. Like, I don't know. Because he is
I don't
funny.
know.
I don't know. He's pretty funny. Like, I do like him too. What about you?
I don't know. Honest to God, I don't watch TV, so I don't.
So you don't know celebrities?
I don't.
Kate Upton?
I have zero.
You used to love Kate Upton.
I love Kate Upton because Sports Illustrated.
Alba?
I'll tell you what happened. For me.
You married me?
Yes. I'll tell you what happened for me. Instagram happened for me. And we now get an opportunity to see into people's lives in the real lives that they have. There were people who I had massive crushes on growing up that now that I know who they are in the real world, I'm not attracted to them. And there's just not a celebrity that I can see that I visually am attracted to that I'm now absolutely attracted to in the real world. I don't have a hall pass.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, me neither.
I also realistically don't have time to have a hall pass. But the idea of it is great.
Yeah, sure. All right.
Sure.
Okay,
All right, we're good?
I think so. Okay, this is the end. This is the end. I got to close it out. Thanks for listening. Toodaloo. Motherfucker.
Bye, guys.
There goes a sight from my soul.